Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to be working on a board that's got a bunch of really funky stickers on it for this A1706 MacBook Pro. It doesn't turn on. I still haven't set up my overhead camera yet because busy, so you can't see me take the machine apart. So I'm going to explain what's going on with it to you as I do my work, and maybe you'll be able to learn something. I also don't have my USB-C amp meter on me because I don't know which box it's in, but once we unpack every box, we'll get there soon. So, first thing I'm going to do is check the amount of... Oh, beautiful. David, is this yours? But if I take it, then you won't get it back. All right. David also has a nicer font than mine. Yours is like a sans serif. Mine is kind of like a sans. I've always been more of a sans serif man myself. So it's taking 5.18 volts at 0.00 amps. Now, on these boards, in order to get to 20 volts, the CD3215 chip, which is the USB-C MUX, needs to get 3.3 volts of power. And if it doesn't get that, it's not going to work. So let's open up a schematic and a board view for an 820-00239 board and see if we can figure out how to make this thing work again and make it into a happy little MacBook that gets fan spin. We got a good record so far getting fan spin. I got myself a Pure Air VLF48 to match Steve's other VLF48. I bought it as broken, not working, and we got the fan to spin because if there's anything we know how to do here, it's make the fan spin. We may not be able to get anything else to work other than fan spin, but a Pure Air VLF48 don't need CPU vCore, it doesn't need to post, and it doesn't need PPVcore SO GPU. It literally just needs fan spin. So I'm on a roll here. So let's take a look at what's going on with this MacBook motherboard. I haven't had any time to get my desk arranged in the office. I'm literally just using this for making videos. I've been working out there for the time being because that allows me to help customers while I'm fixing boards. And I am going to be doing a lot of double duty until everybody is finished unpacking their stuff and moving everything in, which is taking lots of time since people have... There's an enormous pile of work that needs to be done here. So, what do I mean when I say that we're getting 5 volts and the CD3215 needs to be getting 20? That's a great question. So here you have the USB-C MUX chip. This is going to be the charge port right over here. On the computer, the charge port plugs in a J3300. I would show you in the overhead camera, but I haven't had time to hook it up yet, so that's this. That's the charging port, and it plugs in right over there. Now, this is going to speak to the CD3215 chip. If I clicked here, you would eventually find a line that speaks to this happy little CD3215, which is my USB muxing chip. Right here. See? Charge port goes up here, and it's going to speak to the CD3215. Now, more importantly so, how does this chip get power? That's another excellent question. Over here on the top, you have VIN. VIN, and if we follow that, it goes to pp3v3_G3hot. Do we have that power line present on the machine? Because if we don't, we're not going to get this to work. That's not going to be able to allow the machine to speak to this USB-C charger and tell it, hey, I'm not a GoPro, I'm a MacBook. Give me 20 volts instead of that 5 volt nonsense. We're going to turn on Paul Daniels' amazing multimeter software, and we're going to measure and see what we get on our pp3v3_G3hot circuit. I'm getting the names of the rails wrong because I forget most of what I'm doing because I'm losing my mind slowly. Okay, let's take a look at the pp3v3_G3hot circuit and see if we can figure out why we're missing that power rail, because without that rail, our USB-C MUX won't turn on. Without our USB-C MUX turning on, the charger won't turn on. And without the charger turning on, the machine won't turn on. Now this here is the pp3v3_G3hot creation circuit. So let's take a look at this lovely circuit here and see what's going on with it. Now, if you take a look at this circuit, you'll see that we have this is very similar to the pp3v42_G3hot circuit on older MacBooks. This can be powered from either the DCN board or the battery at pp/G3hot here. It's going to be powered by the DCN board. Now, the first thing I'm interested in here is it being told to turn on. And you can always Google Mac 77596 if you want to get a perfect explanation of what everything does and all that other rubbish. But I'm a simple person. I play my Wheel of Fortune. I'm gonna guess my vowel here. This is PM, EN, P3v3G3hot is going to EN. EN, N, enable. So we need voltage on pin 10 in order for this to work. So let's see where that shows up in my board view over here and see if it's being enabled so we can see if the chip's being told to turn on. I'm not going to blame the chip for not working if it's not being told to turn on. So let's see what we get on pin 10 of this chip. I'm going to go into the microscope camera over here. We're going to put the chip nice in focus, right over there in beautiful focus. I've actually seen online that there's a 4K microscope camera that you can get now that does 60 frames a second. It's really tempting to get that, but maybe once my credit card doesn't have like $30 or $40 or $50,000 of crap on it. But it's fucking tempting. Like, there's something about video equipment, and I can't say what it is, where I'm more than happy to look at it and say, you know what? My credit card balance is $50K right now after moving. Not really sure what I'm going to do about that, but I'm willing to add to that so I can have more pixels on the screen. When this clearly works. It's crazy. And the problem is that I have a man named Paul who works here, and every time I say that I don't need it, I just want it, he'll say, no, you need it. He's the absolute worst influence when it comes to this. And the worst part about this is that this store is very close to B&H Photo. We're actually much closer. It's about a 3-minute walk now from B&H, which means that every time I have these stupid, terrible, awful, thoughts, is that I'm right near the place where I can just splurge on it. It's really, really bad. So bad. So awful. So speaking of awful, we have 0.05 volts in our enable. So now let's try to trace that back and see where our enable comes from. Now, if we trace that back on the board, you could see, zoom out a little bit here, that it shows up on U7000. U7000. Look at that. Right over here. And that is our ISL 9239 chip, which Apple lists as an ISL 6259 because, well, you know, it's all the unauthorized repair people that don't know what they're doing. I may be unauthorized, but I know the name of the chip that I need on the computer. I don't, like, it's really getting hard to make that argument that the unauthorized people suck at what they do, Apple. These hearings through your trade associations, because you don't want to show up yourself to lobby against right to repair, you get the CTA to do it for you. Hard to make that argument when your own fucking manuals don't list the names of the chips as what they actually are. But I'm not salty. I'm not salty at all. So let's check out that on the machine, which means I'm going to have to take this board out and take a look at that chip on the other side of the board and see what's going on with it. And I guess you'll just get to see my ugly face for the time being because I don't have the overhead camera. You're going to see my ugly face with my scruffy hair since they didn't have any conditioner left at the gym after I went and took a shower there. Usually they do. This time they didn't. You don't want it, you need it. Great thing to put on. Yeah, that's cancer. Lewis, you'll be B&H's newest VIP customer. No more no B&H. I went there the other day and I spent $400-something on a bag because it's really difficult to carry around all this crap to all the right to repair hearings because I have all this backup shit. Like I have the laptop, I have the camcorder, I have the 2 lenses, I have the external battery for when I can't get stuff plugged in properly, I have the wireless stuff, all that shit. I've been lugging it around in 2 separate bags that are both exploding, and it doesn't hold the tripod properly. And a lot of the times you're kind of running and gunning. Sometimes I like to be able to speak to people outside of the room that showed up, and I want to be able to do that before people leave. So I got this different bag that would allow me to actually speak to people outside a little bit easier, roll stuff around quicker. Maybe my stuff wouldn't get broken as much when I travel. I learned that lesson from my lens getting sodomized. But like that was supposed to be it. But then I walked into B&H, and once you shop at B&H, they send you this book of all the other stuff that they have. Oh, it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. It's scary, I'm telling you. Because when you look in the book of the stuff, it's like, well, I have an APS-C camera. Wouldn't it be nice to have a Super 35mm? Towards setting up the overhead camera. Thank you, NBots. I have a 1080p camera. Wouldn't it be nice to have a 4K 60 camera? That has a Super 35mm sensor rather than APS-C. What if you get a 6K camera? Because it'll look better when you downsample to 4K than just recording in 4K. But that thing doesn't record in intraframe, so it's harder to edit. You want the camera that can record in intraframe, so it's easier to... Nope, not going down that rabbit hole. I love my little Sony NEX-EA50, my little obsolete piece of shit camera. It's broken HD. You know what? It has a broken HDMI port. I bought an HDMI port. It's actually pretty impressive. This thing comes straight from Sony. Check this out. Look at that. Sony logo on the parts bin. By the way, see that fast autofocus? That's why I don't have a Panasonic. Someone asked me why I don't have a Panasonic. Look at this. So it's at the face focus right now, so it's not going to focus on the bag quickly. But when I take the bag out of view, bam! Oh my. Or if I do this, the Panasonic autofocus is fucking terrible. On the GH4, I can move this around like crazy, but I'm always in focus. Running and gunning with exploding bags in government buildings. What can go wrong? Indeed, Christopher Kelly, what could go wrong? Yeah, I've seen the Panasonic GH4 and face focus and tracking. For an expensive camera, that shit is awful. Yeah, Sony autofocus is really on point. And one thing I read, I was looking at the Sony FS7. I was this close to bidding on them when I know I cannot fucking buy that shit right now. Like, now is not the time to buy a new camera. And I was this close to winning one, which thank God I did not, because I probably would have wound up backing out of it and getting an eBay unpaid item claim. Apparently it focuses slower than this thing. Like, how is it that the Sony FS7 first generation has slower autofocus than the NEX EA50, which by all standards is kind of a prosumer camera, not even really a professional one? But the face auto detect and focus on this thing is really on point. Like, it knows where I am all the time. Can Eli's camera do that? Actually, Eli's probably can, because his is a Sony. They have really good autofocus. I used to make fun of Paul for walking into B&H and then leaving like $3,000 or $4,000 or $6,000 lighter, but I get it. I really do. I get it. I can't make fun of him anymore for it, because I'm not much better. All right, so here we have the ISL 9239, and the chip looks fine. I don't see anything wrong with this chip, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with another one, because it's not putting out the signal that it's supposed to, and that makes me mad. So I'm going to put the right amount of Amtech flux on top of it, just a little bit. Just a little flux, not too much. Not too little, not too much. And I don't have a mat in my office yet. I forgot to buy some, so I'm going to use a donor board as my mat for now, so I don't burn the desk too badly. All right, there we go, there we go. All right, are we all ready for this ISL 9239 replacement? Are you excited? By the way, you may notice that this board has 0 liquid damage. So what does that tell you? That the board is 0 liquid. But it's dead. If this chip fixes the problem, what does this board's lack of liquid damage tell you? What this tells me is that it's not simply people that get liquid on their MacBooks that end up with a dead MacBook. You could not do anything bad to this. You could treat the MacBook very nicely, and you can still have a problem where it just dies, and it's just dead. And this is why when I show up at these hearings and I talk about the lack of availability of certain chipsets, that it's important. Because with the new machine, if you had this exact same problem with this chip failing, it would be an absolute nightmare for me to fix it. What I have to do with the new machine is I need to order a battery board for $129, take the chip off of it, then reball that chip, which is an extra pain in the ass, solder it onto the board, and you bet your ass that for $129 and extra work is getting passed on to the customer. And then throw away the battery board, because that battery board and battery that goes with it is now useless. It's a complete and utter waste. It adds to the turnaround time of the repair. It makes for a pissed off customer. They're not only going to be pissed off at Apple because the product is less repairable, but they're also going to be pissed off at me. And that sucks. By the way, the pad that came off is a not connected pad, as you can see over here in the schematic and board view, so it doesn't really matter. And the unconnected pads come off very easily because they're not really adhesed on the board that well. You know how you don't do your job as well when you know that it doesn't matter? When the board is put together, it's kind of similar. Like, the pads just don't stick as well onto the sections where there's nothing there, where there's no signal. So don't feel too bad if when there's a part of your job that no one will notice, no one will care about, no one will use, you don't do it as well, because the $1 trillion company pretty much does the exact same thing. And there's no big deal about that. Those pads never stick as well if it's an NC pad or an unconnect. As you can see, my ISL 9239 also made a jump for it. That's the other reason why it's nice to have chips and spools, because if the chip makes a if the chip tries to escape, you can just grab another one out of the spool instead of having to order. Like, if this was $129 every time that happened, I would be very, very pissed off. All right, who am I kidding? I just have to lower the airflow on my hot air station. Okay, let's put this chip back on. See if Lewis remembers how to replace a BGA. It's been a while, hasn't it? But I'm sure we can get this thing on. Now here's something, even if you're using a ridiculous amount of air, so right now, just to make a point, I'm going to do this at full airflow. If you start it from far away and the flux gets warm, it's going to start to engulf the balls so that it's easier to solder it on the board without it flying away. See that? See that surface tension at work there? That's surface tension at work. That's beautiful. Okay. It's soldered. Now we're just going to wait for it to cool off for a moment. Now I believe that we have a very nicely fixed board at this point. I'm going to take my bets that this is going to take 20 volts and just turn on and work beautifully. No questions asked. No problems at all. Or not. Okay, maybe there's a little bit over there. I'm kind of curious how much that corrosion has to do with it. That's corrosion by the bottom CD3215. We'll see how much that affects it in a second. 5 volts. 0 amps. Oh. Okay. So perhaps it wasn't the ISL 9239 after all. Okay. Let's scrape the corrosion over here. Scrape, 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 da-da, da-da, da. Scrape, 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 da-da, da-da, scrape. All right. This board's actually going to make me work for my money. Okay, so we're getting 5 volts on the enable. So the ISL 9239 change actually did do something, because before we had 0 volts on that enable. But now, as you can see, we get 5 volts on enable. And PP3V3 underscore G3 hot is still 0.08. So that's a problem. So now let's try and figure out why PP3V3 underscore G3 hot is missing. And figure out why that's missing, I am going to get my board view software on the screen. Okay, let's see if voltage is coming into the chip. So right over here on D6902, I'm supposed to have the 18 volts or the 5 volts from the charger in this case going through there. Let's see if I have it coming through. Mm-hmm. 4.6. All right, that's doing what it's supposed to. Wait, I'm measuring the wrong resistor. That's PP bus. That's not PP3V3. Okay, I am getting... This is PP3V3. I'm being dumb. 1.5. That's kind of there. It's kind of half there. Okay. Let's see, do we have any... So it's trying. You know, it's not full, but it's something. Kind of wondering if this capacitor is giving me an active short. That capacitor had corrosion on it, and that is... This one's for PP3V3 underscore G3 hot, and this is for the LDO for this chip. Let's see what happens if we just take those two off. Let's see what happens here. A wild Erica has just appeared. Erica says hello to YouTube and Twitch. Unlike Lewis, Erica doesn't forget about Twitch. Although she does list Twitch second, even though it's alphabetically first. Triggered. I can't eat cookies, Erica. Out of shape. I did. I'm not going to undo it by eating a cookie. No cookie. No cookie. Yeah, but I don't have any alcohol back here. Huh? Can you give me some alcohol, girl? From the front? From it, and no, just give me an alcohol bottle. They got to be somewhere. I got it. I'm gonna have to get an alcohol dispenser back here. There you go. Thank you, Erica. Everybody say thank you to our assistant, Erica. Here we go. 5.2 volts, 300 milliamps. And now it's taking 20 volts at 0.45 amps, so most likely we had a short to ground on that capacitor that makes the LDO. So those two caps that were corroded by the CD3215. So we actually had two separate issues on this board. Is this not exciting or what, folks? Man, are you on the edge of your seat right now or what? Did you not miss this quality television? Not only was the CD3215 not turning on because it wasn't getting 3.3 volts from PP3v3_G3 hot because it wasn't being enabled by the ISL9239, which happened to be dead, but after it was enabled, we were getting 1.36 volts on PP3v3_G3 hot instead of 3.3 volts on PP3v3_G3 hot because of an active short on two capacitors for the LDO and for PP3v3_G3 hot itself underneath the CD3215. OMG! I'm so excited. So now we're going to put those capacitors back on, and we're going to have a happy working MacBook. Kitty security in new store. No, we don't need kitty security in the new store because unlike the old store, this one's going to have an alarm system. Alarm system. The one thing I knew after reading the reviews is fuck ADT. Oh my God. They have, it's crazy that these companies have such good brand name recognition, but you can go to so many websites and just see 1,000 one-star reviews. Because the thing is, you know your company's doing something... You know your company's doing something wrong when you have 1,000 one-star reviews. And it's not like you have 1,000 one-star reviews to 10 million five-star reviews. It's like 1,000 one-star reviews and a couple good ones. Where are you in the field of mounting security systems? You know how I have students that will show up to learn board repair and they'll suck and they'll go back to, you know, doing screen repair and then like stocks or something? That's kind of me when it comes to security. It's like, yeah, did I take a course on access control and security systems? Yes. Do I want to install my own? No. Camera systems, absolutely. I'll install my own camera systems, but I'm not going to install my own. I'm not going to install my own security alarm. If I did that, I'd like it to actually work. I'll put it that way. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. Yeah, Oreo doesn't have a job anymore. It's important to know what you don't know. Too many people out there don't know what they don't know. I agree. But one of the things that I learned from the Eugene scenario is that even if I know what I don't know, part of me is really... I want to hire a professional, and I want the professional to just do what they're supposed to do without being bothered by me. Because I know what I don't know. But at the same time, I have to not be afraid to be a little bit arrogant and think to myself, you know what? I don't know anything about this topic. But I'm still going to push if I think something isn't right. And I don't care if that makes me seem like a dick. I don't care if that makes me seem like an awful customer or an idiot or a jackass or whatever. I don't care if I look like a moron. And the thing is, I'm usually not afraid of looking stupid. But what I learned from that experience is I have to be okay with not caring if I look dumb. If something doesn't seem right, just even in the tiniest way, it doesn't matter if the people around you that know more than you on the topic are telling you it's right. If you genuinely believe it's not right, then just fucking go with that gut feeling. Anyway, that being said, let's see if I get a screen going on here. You'll see that we've booted into an operating system there. So this machine is indeed working. So we had two separate issues with this MacBook that we were able to resolve. The first issue was that the PP3v3_G3 hot rail was not turning on because it was missing its enable signal, and as a result of missing its enable signal from a broken ISL9239, the USB-C port controller, which requires PP3v3_G3 hot to work, the CD3215CO00, was not speaking to the charger and requesting 20 volts rather than 5 volts. We got 5 volts on the USB-C amp meter. The secondary issue that we were having is that PP3v3_G3 hot powers the CD3215, which then powers an LDO inside the CD3215, which allows the CD3215 to create another little power rail for itself, and that was being shorted to ground through a capacitor that was mildly corroded on the other side of the board. Once knocked off, the machine did indeed work and did boot. Do keep in mind that if you have a 2019 or a 2020 MacBook Pro, the only way that I could perform the repair that I did here is to purchase an iPhone XR charging case from Apple for $129. Take the chip off, waste 10 minutes reballing it, then take that $129 battery case, which includes a lithium-ion battery and a PCB, and throw it straight in the e-waste in the trash where it's going to be disposed of. And 99.9% of what's in that is most likely not going to be recycled, just disposed of or set on fire in some trash heap in Africa. Also, that Tim Cook can have just a little bit more money. That's why we go for right to repair. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.